all loaded up. 30-06 Springfield. This is my first rifle that I bought back in 2016, so a little over 9 years ago. And this is what we're shooting out of it. This is the HSM Tipping Point, 165 grain tipped Game King or Game Changer from Sierra. But it has been a minute since we've last seen each other, and that is not due to me just being lazy and, you know, having nothing to do. In fact, my schedule has been bombarded with a lot of family stuff. And this is actually my second trip out for fall bear this year. I actually went out on the opener with my good buddy Austin. I drove over to his neck of the woods and we packed in for about 3 days, but it was a span of about 48 hours. It just encompassed 3 days over how the hours worked. And we hiked in about 6 miles with our camp. Right off the bat, Austin glassed up a few bears off on this hillside about 2.5 miles away. And unfortunately in that spot where we hunted last week, the berries were not in. You had a couple berries that were starting to show life, but for the vast majority of the berries in that spot, they were still green. So they were about 2 to 3 weeks behind. And so we hunted and we saw a couple bears the following morning and just saw some beautiful bucks, some beautiful deer, and some amazing country. But unfortunately for us, nothing came together with how those bears were moving around. They were acting more like spring bear, where they were moving from food source to food source rather than a fall bear, where once they find a huckleberry patch or a food source, they kind of just sit down and sit tight. So that was the opener hunt. I had a lot of fun times hunting with Austin. That was my first time hunting with him. We just came up short on that hunt, so fast forward a week later, I'm out here in my neck of the woods. I'm on a solo hunt. We just had a beautiful rainstorm that passed through. I drove in the rain, and if there's anything about summer hunting that I always tell people, if you're hunting in summer weather and then you have a cold front come through, especially when there's rain or moisture, get out there. So that's what I'm doing. I'm hunting the post rain. I have tonight and all of tomorrow too if I don't happen to pull it together tonight. So let's get back in there. When it comes to bear hunting, it's all about food sources. Right off the rip right here, all along this ground right here, we have these berries. They're red. That is an edible berry that bears will eat from time to time. It's not really a priority, but when they're having to scrounge for whatever is left over, that's a good food source to look at. I know grouse also love that. Right on top over here, we have some thimbleberries, which thimbleberries look almost like a raspberry in a way. And they're very soft, but they're very delicious. They don't grow in an abundant fashion like, say, huckleberries, but from time to time, you just have this little stretch of thimbleberries growing along the side of the road or along the side of a cut or something. So right off the rip, we got some food sources here. And because these berries right here are ripe, I'm fairly certain that the huckleberries back in the spot are going to be popping as well. One thing to always keep an eye out when you're hunting post-rain is look at the ground. When the ground is wet, it's muddy, the mud simply picks up the indentations of tracks a lot better than dry, hard dirt. So it'll usually wash away old tracks, and then any new track will be very obvious. That is a post-rainfall deer track going the way I just came up. We got some more thimbleberries all along this underside of the road. Some of them are pink, so they're still not quite ripe yet. Red is ripe. And even though we're bear hunting, I always am observant of other animals that I might hunt around the area, like deer and elk. And all along this bush right here, I could just tell that something's been grazing on them, because if you look at these tips, like it's been chewed or it's been pulled off. And same thing up here, you can see how all these leaves are kind of torn and withered away. That's just one bush, and it goes along the road. I just heard some loud crashing right down here. Not as spooked crashing, just kind of milling around type crashing. Sounds big, so it might be moose or elk or a bear ripping up a stump. But it is very thick down in here. But towards the top, like up there, I can start glassing into some open clear cut, which might have some berries, which and therefore will maybe have a bear. But something's right below me. Something right here. I came down like 50 yards and it was making a lot of ruckus. I don't know if it heard me or if it winded me. But there's a lot of Saskatoons and thimbleberries right here. Saskatoons are everywhere. It is just so thick. I kind of have a feeling it's a bear. I heard him like huffing. Which I do have a call with me. So I might go up here and call for a second. See if I can't just pull this whatever thing out. Right here, all along this ground, there's a lot of Oregon grapes, which Oregon grapes are a very good food source. I don't think I've ever seen so many berries in one spot ripe at the same time. I saw some huckleberries over here, Saskatoons. We had some really young chokecherries, a lot of thimbleberries. We have Oregon grapes. It's just really good feedback in here, which makes me more confident that there's a bear in here somewhere. These are called Saskatoons or Juneberries or service berries, and they have the color that kind of resembles a huckleberry, but they have this little hairdo at the top of them, like a huckleberry with a crazy hairdo, but all over up in here. And they typically hang a lot higher, so sometimes they'll be even taller than your head. And finally, we are in the huckleberries. There's a lot of huckleberries just in this little pile right here. They're blended in with Saskatoons. That's a Saskatoon. Huckleberries. I've made it to this point right here where I can glass various different hillsides of huckleberries. The only problem with this glassing spot is it is a glassing spot, meaning if I spot a bear, you can't shoot the bear from here. So you have to do these really extended stalks, because to go straight to them is not as easy as it sounds. So a lot of times you have to take some type of excessive looping route to properly get in on that animal. And it's only 3:50 right now, so I have about 4 hours left until like prime last light hours, which is typically when some of these bears like to come out. So I'm gonna make my way over to this one ridge, which is the farthest ridge from me, and I'm not gonna be able to cover a lot of ground today from sitting at that spot, but that's one of those spots where, like, if you see an animal or if you see a bear, he's within shooting distance, which I'm here to try to kill a bear, not just glass up bears. I could probably see way more bears if I just glass from here, but I'm gonna kill 0. So I'm gonna make my way up there while I still have time and just get up there, be very quiet, and see if a bear feeds out around me. drainages, they're cooler because there's water. It's shaded. And so because a lot of animals, bears, want to get out of the heat, they will oftentimes bed up in these creek drainages. This is the ridge that I wanted to come and hunt. It's very thick, but it is loaded with berries, huckleberries, which is perfect. And like I said, this is close quarters, so I'm gonna make my way up to the road on top and I'm gonna sit and overlook this valley. Working my way up this ridge to this road, it is just littered with huckleberries and saskatoons and all these other berries, but huckleberries are primarily what I'm after. So no bear scat, surprisingly, but I've got a good feeling that with how many berries are around here, there's got to be at least one bear. So I'm gonna tone down here, cool down, and just start paying attention. It was worth a shot. My right ear's ringing. Made it back to the truck, and it was a little bit anticlimactic. I really thought that I was gonna go in there and at least spot a bear, but I'm gonna dissect it because I'm about to bounce. I'm just cooling down before I hop in the truck. Let's just say that my prediction was right, partially, that all the food sources in there, all the berries are in there, but the bears, for whatever reason, are not in there. So this is what I'm gonna do. I was planning to hunt this spot today and tomorrow, but with what I have observed in there today, I don't think the bears are in there. So I'm about to drive out of here to a different spot overnight, and then I'm going to spend the rest of tomorrow hunting that other spot. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to be more proactive in telling you guys my thought process rather than just jumping from scene to scene to scene. I went in there post rainstorm, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, and I went in there and there's all sorts of berries in there. Huckleberries are in, thimbleberries, juneberries, you name it. All the berries are in there, just loaded in there. But when I went in there, there was, one, I never saw a single bear. Two, I never saw any bear tracks. And three, I never saw any bear scat. Normally what happens when you have a bear in the fall that is utilizing a food source in one particular area, you will see a lot of sign from either that bear or the bears that are using that area. The most obvious one is scat. I have not seen a single pile of scat from here to the truck, even amongst all the ripe huckleberries. So my train of thought is this year has been one of the best years for berries, for huckleberries and for all the other berries. And I guess there is a downfall, there's a dilemma when there's too much food source, because now that there's food sources everywhere, the berries can just spread out. Versus when there's not that many huckleberries, it congregates all these berries into that one area where there's those huckleberry patches. But I just think that there's so many berries right now where the bears can just kind of hang off on their own and they can just be anywhere. So later on, as the season progresses and these berries all over the place start to dwindle out, I feel like these bears will then start congregating in these little pockets where there are huckleberries. But right now, the huckleberries are they're flourishing and they're everywhere, which is awesome. But the downfall is now you just gotta really fine tune it and try to find the right patch that still has a bear on it, or has a bear that's active on it. So I'm gonna pack up here, drive overnight, and see if tomorrow's spot gives us better luck. This car right here is why he needs me. This car can't make it up there.
Oh, saw lots of things today.
Got a pack of wolves howling down here. This place is just like I last remembered it. We're almost to our glassing now. We're just gonna post up here and glass this far hillside. But there's some wolves howling down at the bottom. Well, we glassed all morning and we have 0 bears spotted, which I am appalled that we have not seen a bear. This is one of the tried and true spots the berries are in, and normally this is a spot where I find bears, and this is the first time I've hunted here and have not laid eyes on a bear, which is crazy to say because the berries are in here. But I think it might just be what I was saying yesterday. I think there's so many food sources right now, they're just scattered, but this is usually a safe bet. So we saw a deer, or saw 2 deer, a doe and a fawn. We're gonna eat some breakfast here, and I think we're just gonna bounce. This is just a prime example of why it's good to have multiple spots and not just throw all your eggs into one basket. With yesterday's spot and this morning's spot, I am very confused as to why I haven't seen a bear. Really what we're gonna do is just end up spot hopping, jumping from spot to spot, see if we can't just finally find where a bear is. Don't really know anything at this point because all the game plans of sitting on berry patches have not produced. So at this point we're just doing our best to cover ground and trying to find a little pocket where a bear or bears might be currently inhabiting. I thought that was the biggest bear of all time. That right there is an elderberry tree. Those are the elderberries. They have a light blue, baby blue color to them. Alright, let's do this properly. Just gotta sit here and see if a bear pops out. We just got settled down. The sun has been blocked off by the shade or the clouds. Look back across and there's a white-tailed deer. Looks like a little 1x2 or a 2x2. Oh, he's a 2x2. A little forky. Just out feeding. Like 3:15 in the afternoon. Yards. If that was a bear, that is absolutely perfect because he's like 10 yards up off the road. So if you shoot him, he's gonna roll right onto the road, theoretically. But that is awesome to see. We got a nice little buck. We'll see if a bear follows suit. Wachong actually hiked the road down and he went to go post up at this other point over here. So I'm overseeing this upper part of the drainage, and Wachong went to go glass down lower. That way we just cover more ground.
I'm sitting here watching that hillside behind me, and I just heard a bunch of loud crashing behind me. Had some deer running behind me, and I thought it was gonna be some bears. Looks like 2 does and a little buck. And these deer are eating elderberries. I got footage of them eating elderberries, which is good to know, because that is a berry source that I know bears like to eat. And the elderberries in here are like 50-50, but that buck is literally eating an elderberry tree as I speak. There's a lot of deer back in here, but just no bears. There's 2 bucks. That's incredible. 2 bucks and 2 does. No wonder the does were running around. These bucks were chasing them. One of them is a good buck. He's a nice little 4x4. Oh man, that gets me so amped up for deer season. That is so cool. $184 yards. They're just eating elderberries. We're past shooting light. Now we gotta hike out of here. We have quite a hike. No bears. But we got some pretty good deer intel. But that's gonna do it for this week. Hunted, and all the conditions just seemed like it was gonna line up, but it didn't. The berries were in, huckleberries, Oregon grapes, Saskatoons, thimbleberries, you name it, all the berries were in. All the recipes for a successful bear hunt was written on the wall. And I hit some of my tried and true spots, and for the first time in my life, hunting in August, I came up empty. So it's a curveball, but we're not done yet. I'm off to Alaska in 2 days, so I can't hunt, but we'll be back hunting as soon as I get back from Alaska. I'm really happy we didn't shoot a bear. I would have had to peck out a whole bear and my partner. Sometimes it's best to eat your tag. His legs are done. He's laughing in pain. We're not even close to the truck.
We are. We're like half a mile.
With how much you're moving, we're far from the car. We are not close according to your legs. This is gonna be fun. Stretch it out.
You're not helping.
I hope my straps are long enough. That'll work. Well, that's an initial ascent, packing out an EXO.
You're gonna have to pack me out too.
I may have to come back and pack you out. You can walk again.
Don't jinx it. Never know.
Slow and steady.